My home is my greatest asset. This is part of the Retirement Planning Made Simple for Beginners series. This is something that I often hear people talking about when I speak to them either about retirement planning, wealth building, or personal finance. Hello, my name's Hannah. If we've never met, welcome to my channel. On this channel, we discuss all things retirement planning, wealth building, personal finance, and entrepreneurship. I'm excited that you're here, and I'm delighted that you've taken the time to come and watch this video. In the video today, we're going to be discussing assets and liabilities. Now, the first thing that I said was my home is my greatest asset. And the reason why I stated that is because that is a phrase that people often refer to time and time again without actually realizing that the definition of an asset is
an item that appreciates in value.
Now, if you speak to an accountant, obviously they will give you a completely different definition for the word asset. However, the key thing that you need to remember about a true asset is that it actually generates income rather than it just being appreciating in value. Because your house will obviously, a house should usually appreciate in value depending on where you are. There was a time when loads of houses were in negative equity. Now, who knows what the future holds, but certainly now I don't know of many houses that are in that situation. So that's why a lot of people often think that their house, the home that they live in, is an asset. The reality is, if it's not generating income, it's not a true asset. I would define it as a fake asset. Now, I'm not saying that having your own home is not a good thing. It's definitely a good thing, but you need to just really understand the distinction between an asset and a liability. An asset is actually something that brings in money month after month or quarter after quarter or year after year. A liability is the complete opposite, something that takes money out of your pocket regularly. And now, here is what you need to really understand when it comes to assets and liabilities, especially when it comes to your own home or your car, which you might also think is an asset. And people often say that as well. For example, oh, I've got a car and I've got a home, and it's like, oh my gosh, okay, that's fine. And listen, I used to think like that as well until I became more financially aware of the distinct difference between a true asset and a liability. Here's how you can really understand it. Let me give you an example. If you own investment property, a rental property, for example, and you've got a mortgage on it and it's rented out and you're receiving money from that property, then what happens is you've got a liability, which is the debt, the mortgage, and then you might have a landlord's insurance plus some other expenses associated with that property. However, you've got money coming into your pot or into your account. If you buy well, this is the thing, because oftentimes people will just go out and buy a property without actually doing a full assessment as to how viable or profitable it might be. If you buy right in the first place and you receive rental income from that property, when you make a profit from an asset, that is the definition of how an asset should work. Because ultimately, the home you live in, if you don't have any money, you can't just go to the bank and say, okay, give me some money in exchange for part of my property. If you want money in return for your property, you've actually got to sell it, unless you use one of these schemes that are often talked about. Stay well away from them and stay well away from them. Hey, I'm not advising you, but this is just my guidance to you. Stay well away from them because they will cause you to lose your wealth. And if you've got a thought to create generational wealth, this is the complete opposite. So generational wealth will be heading this way and your assets will cause you to go that way. So always think about, I'm creating a legacy, I'm creating generational wealth. I'm going to stay away from those schemes that appear to help me if I find myself in that kind of situation. The key thing you need to understand is that when you have an asset that's helping you to generate income, that is a true asset. Oftentimes you might hear of people as they get closer and closer to retirement. You might hear things like, or you might hear terminology such as, this person is asset rich, but actually cash poor. And that's because they've not actually understood the distinct difference between a true asset and what I would call a fake asset. If you understand this distinction, you'll never find yourself in that situation where you're asset rich and cash poor. Understand this and you will make positive strides towards creating and building long-term wealth, not just for you in retirement, but way beyond that, and this will become part of your legacy. My top 3 assets are, number 1, intellectual property. And the reason why I love intellectual property is, and I'll give you a really simple example, which is if you write a book, or if I write a book, put it on Amazon or put it out in the bookshop, and people will just keep buying it forever and ever, hopefully. So that's one of the reasons why I love intellectual property and why it's number 1 for me. Number 2 is business income, and I'm not talking about income from self-employment, this is different. In the UK, we have something called self-employment, which is distinctly different from running a business. And so I'm not talking about self-employment, I'm actually talking about a business, because a business is a structure whereby even if you're not there, the business should hopefully still be making money in your absence. So that's why for me, business is number 2. And number 3 is real estate, property. That's my 3rd favorite asset. So the question of the day is, what are your top 3 favorite assets and why? Thanks so much indeed for watching. If you've enjoyed the content today, then please do like, comment, share and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye for now.